The Auburn Tigers needed that win, and boy, was it sweet. Let's go!
You are Locked On Auburn, your daily podcast on the Auburn Tigers. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Yes, welcome on into Locked On Auburn, your daily Auburn Tigers podcast. I'm your host, Zach Blackerby, and thank you so much for making Locked On Auburn your first listen every single day. We're dapping it up with Darrell Dapprich, who's always with me with these post-game shows. Darrell, the Tigers win 24-10, and nobody in college football needed a win today more than the Auburn Tigers.
Man, I cannot remember the last time an Auburn football team needed a win as badly as this team did.
Oh my goodness.
And I will say this, there were some things that happened. You're going, man, rinse and repeat, same things, right?
Yeah.
But I feel like that almost helps them in the long run because they overcame the same ills, the same things that they were doing that got them beat. They reared their ugly head, but they went ahead and put the game away despite that, even falling behind 10-0. So, yeah, Auburn needed a win. A win is a win is a win, however you got it. But when you break down some of the things that happened, I think it actually bodes well from them now for the rest of the season on how they won.
Yeah, I think there were two moments that really stood out to me, and you kind of hinted at one of the major ones. So I guess the context of how the second half started was right after a total debacle. And there's a few things that and I'm sure people will pick it apart. Probably not as much because we won, which is totally fine. But you totally blew an opportunity at points at the end of the first half. And so what do? This team puts together probably the best drive of the season. Darrell, they ate a ton of clock. It was methodical. You converted on key downs. You got a bunch of people involved. It's like, wow. Okay, you buried that crap that happened in the first half. We've seen this team this year, something bad happens and they can't snap out of it. They did it then, and then the first drive of the fourth quarter, they're up a touchdown, and this is something you called for Friday on yesterday's show, where it's like, okay, you've got a touchdown lead. Can you extend it? Can you do more? And they did. It was an exceptional drive. They got multiple people involved and they chewed some clock as well. Those two moments to me is what made this feel so much different than every other game this season.
Yeah, we can flip now key moments and what happened and how the outcome came, because I think you touched on something. If Auburn comes out in the second half and has a drive that stalls, after what happened at the end of the first half, I wonder where the psyche is, where the mindset is. So they took something that was very difficult to swallow at the end of the first half, and the start of the second answered. Huge answer. That set the tone, I think, for what you talked about at the start of the fourth quarter.
Yeah.
We saw it coming, and then the touchdown run, the flag is on the ground, and you're going, oh, God, here we go. It's going to get called back.
We caught a break.
Self-inflicting. And I saw them do this and point this direction. And I'm like, finally, there is a break. The football gods, because even in the first half, and I tweeted this out, Auburn does a great job sacking Vandegrift.
Nice.
And the ball lands in the Auburn defender and slips through his arms, and Vandegrift gets it. And I'm going, man, when is Auburn going to get a break? Little things like that. And they did. The K and Lee interception, huge. Look, they bowed their neck on fourth down when the defense looked gassed. When Kentucky went up and down the field, they shouldn't have been gassed. They should have been fresh because Kentucky didn't have the ball a lot in the second half. And the young defense, who played exceptionally well tonight, K and Lee makes a great play, interception on the goal line. For all intents and purposes, that was ball game. I mean, I get it that Auburn had to go all the way down the field, and they did.
Yeah.
But that was such a huge play. Finally, they made plays.
Because it kind of felt like that was Kentucky's last push. That
was their last breath.
Chance.
Yeah.
And, I mean, we were in that situation with, I guess, the Cal game where you kind of felt like it was our last shot. And then, we threw a pick and lost that game. I mean, it kind of felt like a similar situation. So I mean, there are just so many different guys that stepped up, which is super great to see. I mean, you saw them throw short passes to Robert Lewis, to Cam Coleman. KLS was all over the place on defense. You saw really solid, consistent pressure by a lot of different players. It wasn't just McLeod. I mean, you saw Jamison Travis back there. I think he got credited with a sack late in the game. It's like, okay, everybody's getting after it. This was a great win for this entire team. And man, with the mentality and the morale staying where it was, I mean, we talked to folks throughout the week, like kind of surprised with how solid the team morale was despite the 2-5 start. They said it at the end of the broadcast there, and I don't want to book too hard, but I'm going to. Like, I wouldn't want to play us right now if I'm a Vanderbilt. I wouldn't want to play us right now if I'm this red hot Texas A&M team who may be looking ahead to Texas the following week. I mean, I think this win's going to go a long way. I really, really do.
You have to get the first one under your belt before you can start stringing things together. Before you start to turn the corner, before you start to be that team that people are talking about, I wouldn't want to play. You've got to get the first one. You've got to learn how to win that game. And Auburn, let's be honest, this really had the feel of a blowout and should have been a blowout. Should have been 30-10, and then Auburn takes the knee late inside the 10-yard line there.
Sure.
Could have made this. Yeah. I mean, the 2 field goals, and then so I mean, it really couldn't even been one of those situations where you were sweating it in the fourth quarter. That's big. I think that's big for confidence. I think now what happens, which don't underestimate the fact that if Auburn gets in a game against Vanderbilt, now look, this is just step one. Okay, we kept saying Auburn has to prove it. I'm not, until they show me. Okay, they showed a step. They showed progress. Now, can they sustain? Can they string 2 of these together? But when you're in a game against Vanderbilt next week, and let's say it's tight and something doesn't go your way, now you draw on what happened tonight and say, okay, we've had some missed opportunities, but we've finally put that to rest, put that to bed, and got over the hump and handled the adversity. That's what happens. That's why it's key rest of the year.
Mm-hmm. I love it. This was so huge. So Jarquez Hunter, oh my goodness gracious. I mean, one of the better performances by an Auburn running back in a hot minute. His numbers aren't correct on the stack. Okay, here they are. 23 carries, 278 yards. It's just insane.
That's
it's
insane. And look, you're not getting that against New Mexico. You're getting it against a defense where some idiot was on your show last week, and I can't remember his name, but he's a moron. You shouldn't have him on your podcast anymore, and said that Jarquez Hunter was going to be lucky to get 70 yards. That idiot is who's talking right now. I don't know what I was thinking, but Hunter did it against a defense that was very, very good against the run. This was not a fluke. This wasn't against a bottom feeder. This Kentucky defense coming in tonight was 3rd in the SEC against the run. And some genius got on your show and said,
"Oh, you're calling you an idiot."
Yes. Okay. Did you think I was calling you an idiot?
I'm like, no. I'm like, who did I have on? Because you're just blasting right now. You're talking about you.
Me.
Okay,
I wear things when I'm wrong, and I own it.
Sure.
And I'm like, oh,
I
he's
was
not going to get
slow on that. I was super. I'm like, who are you destroying right now? Okay, got it.
That was as slow as Charlie 5 on the 12:30 prediction on a commitment when he didn't get your joke on that one. But
that's right.
I said he wasn't going to get 70. I said it was going to be tough for him to get 70 yards. Yeah. He didn't get 70 yards. All right. He got 3 times that amount. I mean, that's just, that's why this was
going to be able to do it. I didn't think they were going to be able to do it because, I mean, Kentucky's front 7 has been so good this year. And I don't know, is that a situation where they're kind of having the opposite effect of Auburn, like similar starts to the season, but it does seem like Auburn from a morale standpoint in the locker room seems to be holding things together tighter than other teams in that situation. I mean, like, I don't mean to bring things up, but like you look at your other team that you follow super close, like Arizona. Like, I mean, teams like that all throughout college football at this point of the season who have underachieved based on what they thought, and just the locker rooms are falling apart. That doesn't seem to be happening here, and I think that was proof of what we kind of saw tonight.
I'll tell you something else that was interesting. Matt Stitcom, who I like as an analyst, I think he does a really good job on the SEC Network tonight. 3 times I made a note. He talked about the fronts or the alignment that Kentucky was in. He said, man, they're just daring Auburn to run.
Yeah.
And the reason why they did that, Zach, is because they felt like they didn't have to stack the box. They felt like their defensive line was so good and so dominant that they were going to try to take away the intermediate passing game and dare Auburn to run. And I'm going, that's playing right into Auburn's hands. And boy, did they ever. Now, I get it. Hunter had the big game, but there were a couple nice runs that even Austin had in the second quarter when Auburn got churning and got going, and he got some big runs. And give Peyton Thorne credit. I thought he ran the football effectively tonight when he had to, when plays broke down. So when I say give him credit, other than the sack and the flea flick, when he had to run it and get outside, he did a good job. So the running game, just historically dominant tonight against a very good run defense. That's the key. It's not against somebody that's soft against the run.
Yeah, I mean, I've already seen some people say, well, it's Kentucky. It's like, I mean, they kind of matched up well.
It's not who they beat, it's how they beat them. I mean, people need to understand that. It's how they did it. The way they ran the ball and the way they overcame adversity and the way they came, all the old tapes, all the PTSD and things that were happening, like here we go again. They put that to bed for one game and overcame that. I think that can help you the rest of the year.
Yep. Incredible stuff. Okay, so like, what does this mean now for Auburn? And let's also look ahead. I mean, they've got a talented team coming in next week. So let's jump into that in just a moment, right here on Locked On Auburn. Today's show brought to you by our friends at FanDuel. FanDuel is America's #1 sports book. And you can kind of kick off this tail end of the season for college football with a big return on America's #1 sports book. If you get a hunch in the middle of the game, you can check out the latest stats, view live play-by-play, and so much more all on the same page where you place your bets. Darrell, you can get $200 of bonus bets guaranteed when you place that first $5 bet. We both, I think we both took Kentucky to cover. We would have been wrong.
And boy, am I glad.
Yeah, I just checked. The line is not out for Auburn Vandy yet. I'm actually super interested to see what that's going to be set at. I would guess it's similar. 3.5. Vandy by 3.5 would be my probably guess. We'll see. Could be more. We'll see. What's your guess on it? No, you think?
I think Vanderbilt won or Auburn won in that range. I think Auburn could, by the time that kicks off, Auburn could be the team that's favored.
Interesting. If you guys see the line anywhere else, let me know. Just put it in the chat. You can get started with $200 of bonus bets guaranteed. Just place that first $5 bet. All that is at FanDuel.com. So what does this win mean for the Auburn Tigers? I think it means a lot. I think they now have some sort of proof that they can like stick their chest out and say confidently, like, okay, we know what it's like to not fold in a key situation. I mean, I was talking with several folks during the game. It's like, yeah, sure, you go into the fourth quarter with a touchdown lead. We should feel good. And even the flow of the game was good. But we've said that, you could have said that against Missouri. You could have said that against Texas not Texas A&M.
Oklahoma.
There it is, Oklahoma. And you didn't close it out. Obviously tonight you closed it out, and you closed it out with dramatic fashion. And you closed it out in a way that was dominant. That was extremely dominant. And I just think that stuff matters. I think that's going to translate.
Exactly. A lot of times you break things down on film and you figure out what you did that was really effective. This is one of those games where, again, to repeat what I said before, yes, Auburn needed a win more than anything else. So no matter how you did it, it shouldn't have mattered because you just had to have a win, that importantly. But when they look at film and they kind of dissect this game, they'll look at things like, okay, fell behind 10-0. They'll look at the missed opportunities and where they could have had an opportunity to hang their heads on that and get frustrated. How they answered those really brutal moments. Remember, the two worst moments, in my opinion, in the football game were right at the end of the first half. Auburn came out to start the second half and scored. And then the failed flea flicker.
Oh, careful.
Intentional grounding, missed field goal, how they answered the drive after that. That's Those are the things you hang your hat on. Those are the things you look at film sessions and say, guys, hey, it's great that Jarquez Hunter went for 240 or whatever he went for, 260, 270, whatever.
Yeah.
But what's more important is these individual plays and how we overcame. And I think you draw from that. I really do. I get it. I don't want to get ahead of myself. It's step one. It's Kentucky. Everyone's yes. Okay. But how bad did Missouri look today?
Yeah.
Oh, they're asking who's that on my shirt? That is one Vincent Bo Jackson, my friend.
That's the GOAT. That's the GOAT. That is the GOAT for sure. People are asking where you can get that shirt.
I ordered it online. I can't remember where I ordered it from. Yeah, but you can just Google Bo Jackson T-shirt and it'll pop up.
All right. It looks great.
Yeah.
Looks great.
It's in the Auburn, the home field apparel jersey. See, that's the one.
Clean.
See,
so clean.
it's a double.
How good was Jay Crawford tonight?
Oh, well, both corners.
Kane Lee got picked on a little bit, but Kane Lee, his body of work tonight I think was exceptional too. But
yeah.
Oh my goodness, like Jay Crawford is a freshman. Like, there's no way if you just watch that game, knowing something about football, and you had no context of the roster, you would be like, that guy's a draft pick. Oh, he's 18. What?
Yeah, he was fun.
The guy is
the secondary. I thought Jaron Thompson played well. I thought the ball that they called a pass interference on him was a bogus call. I thought he played the ball, or the one on Kane Lee. I thought that was a good play. And then I looked at it the second time. He did wrap the shoulder a little bit, but I thought the secondary played really well. Caleb Harris tackled in space really well. Asante's tackle on the 2-yard line on second down, which ended up being huge, because you think on second down it's not as big, but it really kept that dude from getting in the end zone, because not only did he stand him up, he drove him backwards. And again, Stidham said if you wanted to draw up somebody and teach them how to tackle, that's the play you would use. That's how good it was.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Both of them were stellar. They were stellar. And the fact that you get them both next year, in theory, that's super exciting with Caleb Harris as well. That's going to be a lot of fun watching those guys grow up together for sure. I was impressed with the defensive front, and it's a situation where they should have. Kentucky's offensive line has been suspect. That's a big part of why their offense hasn't been good this year. Quarterback play too, but the O-line has not been great. And it was just nice to see us win a matchup really on both sides of the ball when it comes to the, winning the line of scrimmage, in a situation where you probably should have on one side with the defense versus the offense, our defense versus their offense. But then our offensive line versus their defensive line, we weren't supposed to win that. And Auburn clearly just bullied them on both sides of the football. And that was just super nice to see, Darrell.
Guess what else was really nice to see? How many balls were targeted at Cam Coleman under 10 yards? Did you notice that? There was 3 or 4 that he caught under 10 yards. And not only that, the play that Cam Brown made on 3rd down and long is going to be lost in all this. But I looked back and made a note on that one. And then go back, if you get a chance, we go back and watch this game later on in the week. Watch how many times Auburn receivers got yards after contact. Let's say they were stopped 3 yards short of the first down. They would shake and break a tackle and get the first down.
Yep.
Those are plays Auburn wasn't making earlier in the year, and that's winning football plays is what those are.
You're right. I mean, this team looked methodical. The team looked focused after the rough start, which – we won, so we're not going to really focus on the bad things right now. But how Auburn came out and looked like that on offense doesn't make any sense to me. But whatever. You rallied back, and it would have been so easy, Darrell, if you're Auburn and it's nothing has gone right for this team so far this year, and you're on the road, and you're down 10 points. It would have been so easy. I just watching that, I kind of felt is this about to get bad? And then they had a really solid drive to get them back in it. But it would have been so easy. It would have been so easy just to say, But they bounced back. They crawled out of that hole. And I think that's kind of something they could take with them too.
It would have been very easy to kind of say, woe is me. Here we go again. Credit the defense for holding them at bay a little bit until Auburn's offense got going. Not letting it get out of hand, giving a chance for Auburn to get back in it. And I will say this, like little things that normally really hurt you, it hurt you at the time, but it didn't end up being fatal. Like, quit blocking in the back on kickoff returns, for the love of God.
What's up with that? What's up with that?
Stop starting at the 10-yard line. And then Keontae Scott has a wonderful punt return, and J.C. Hart blocking the back ended up being a 40-yard penalty. I bring these up not to be negative, Nelly, but to say even after that 40-yard penalty, Auburn drove the ball length of the field.
That's a good point.
So they may have missed the field goal on that. That may have been the flea flicker drive. But either way, they flipped field position. They overcame that and just said, okay, we'll just move it down. So that's the kind of thing that I think you can draw from. But I saw some good things in the pass game too. I mean, I know it's going to get lost in this because of the historic night Jarquez Hunter had, but I thought the passing game was efficient. I thought the receivers, like I said, did a good job after contact, really going nose for the first down and catching the ball in space and making people miss. Didn't take a lot of deep shots. The one they did, there was a pass interference call on, so it paid off.
Yep.
It paid off big time. I think that was the first. Yeah, here's the deal. The first Auburn touchdown was aided by two things that normally happen to Auburn, but happened to the other team. A partially blocked punt that Auburn got a piece of that gave them good field position, and then the defensive pass interference that got him inside the 20. Mm-hmm. Auburn capitalized on those and took advantage. And it was nice to see something happening to somebody else for a change.
Yeah. And that's something, like, I don't know if he should be saying this, but it's honest in how he feels. So I love that he's sharing it. But that's something Freeds has said a lot. Is like, we haven't really caught a break. And it did feel like we caught some breaks tonight, which is good. But I'm also like, you kind of got to make your own breaks. And I don't know if we've really made our own breaks consistently this season.
Right. Tonight, there were some things that happened where Auburn made plays. They made plays. They said, okay, we've got to go out and make a play here. And they did. And how many times did the offensive line open up a big hole and Hunter that's making a play. That's taking the game over. We talked about having that killer instinct. And when Auburn was only up 7 going into the fourth quarter, I mean, to extend that lead the way they did, and, again, could have even tacked on more, but they did finally go for the kill shot. And the fourth down interception, for all intents and purposes, ended it. You could tell that the air went out of, they showed people leaving Kroger Stadium.
Yeah.
And after that, after that fourth down, and remember how long Kentucky took to even get to that position? They took so much time off the clock that even if they score there, they're down a touchdown with like 3 minutes to go.
Yeah, that's why that fourth down conversion was so big too, because it's just like
all this time
they killed half the quarter. Yeah. Right.
Yeah.
Right. There's a few people saying the line is Auburn by 18.5. That is not correct.
No way.
I'm telling you right now, that is not right.
No, I wouldn't be surprised if Auburn was favored. I really wouldn't be. It wouldn't surprise me if it was a pick 'em.
It'd be like 2.5 or 3.
Right. At the most. It's not going to be 18.
Yeah.
This isn't last year.
Oh, I think what y'all are seeing is last year's basketball game against them. We were that's the number from that. Y'all just Google Auburn Vandy. That's the first thing that came up.
Yeah,
that's exactly what it is. Yeah, that's funny. Looks like we covered in that too, for what that's worth. Okay, last thing, because I did get some slack from this, and I assume it's from Kentucky people that stopped by, which is fine. Thank you for coming. Hope you're hanging out tonight too. But I kind of picked on a lot of people saying like, well, it's Kroger Field at night, Lexington at night. And there was a moment in the broadcast, Darrell, it was early on, where they were like, let's pause and hear the Kentucky crowd on third down. And they quit talking. And you could tell they turned the crowd mics up a little bit, but it still wasn't that loud. And I'm like, what are we doing? Why are we making this a thing?
I remember them saying, here it comes. You're about to hear Lexington get loud or whatever. And I couldn't really tell the difference when they did that. And again, it's just, look, environments are different across the SEC. And I know that some other people took a lot of took a lot of flack for saying things about how it's not a tough place to play at night. It's not like going into Death Valley or the swamp or whatever. They can get loud when their team's winning and all that, but they just had this feeling. I think they're frustrated as a fan base. I think they're feeling some angst and some really restlessness after the Florida game last week and some other things. I mean, it shocks me that this is a team that went to Oxford and beat Ole Miss. I just, to just fathom that and how this season.
The defense was so good. I mean, this team almost beat Georgia.
Yeah. Oh,
They're
that's true. Early,
but yeah, no. I mean, if they had any sort of life on offense, they beat Georgia. But it's just because that front seven has been so good. It's been so good. And that's why we said all week, it's like, I don't think Auburn can run the ball against them. I think they're going to have to do vertical passing, which when they did go to that, like they either caused pass interference or like KLS did, create some space. But once Jarquez Hunter started running, it's like, why stop doing this? Why stop doing this? But like, let's don't forget like what this Kentucky team has done. Now, I do think Auburn played them at a better time. I think if Auburn plays them at the beginning of the season, this is a totally different game. But it's not like this front seven just like was awful all of a sudden.
And one of the things that I saw that really just was really exciting for me was on third down, Auburn ran a little bootleg where they faked the handoff and Thorne rolled out and they dragged Jarquez Hunter underneath and he was wide open and Thorne just dumped it to him for 7 yards and then Hunter ran for 8 more.
Right.
Those types of plays are so simplistic, but a 3rd and 4 you convert by getting 15. Again, winning football plays, those add up. And those are the kind of things you've been dying to see all year. You don't have to make it that difficult. Take what the defense gives you. And they put it in their hands of their best player, and look what he did.
Yep, exceptional stuff. And I like and some of this has to do with like Auburn seemed to like actually have somewhat of a flow and they actually had some drives to put together so you're able to do this. But I loved the balance of the rotation of Jarquez and Damari. More so in this game than any other game so far. It's like Damari had enough touches to like be relevant in the flow of the game, and he benefited from it. I mean, he was effective. 9 carries for 38 yards, is a little over 4 a touch. And yeah, that's great. And he also had a catch for 22 yards, and that was one of the ones you talked about. Like you hit contact and you run through it. I mean, Damari was able to be a factor because Auburn converted and stayed on the field, and so they got more plays to give the ball to other playmakers. That's just, we haven't had that much, Darrell, and that's just it's a crucial thing.
This was a really well called game plan wise on both sides of the ball. I thought Durkin was in his bag when he brought pressure. Falk was a monster tonight early again, just absolutely dominant. I loved, like I said, the way the secondary played. Durkin was doing a really good job, and then Hugh Freeze was dialing up some stuff. Again, when someone's got that many yards on the ground like Hunter does, it makes you look like a genius. But give him the ball against a Kentucky front that you thought was going to stack him up. And, man, I mean, at the end of the day, much needed, but much needed how they got it done, I think, is more important, more imperative.
Yeah, I think so, too. So Jarquez, he passed 3,000 career yards. So he will be, looks like he passed Trey Mason. So he will be the 6th all-time runner in Auburn history, which is pretty cool.
And think about this. I know it was just for one season, maybe his junior season too. Think about how many more carries Trey Mason got as an Auburn running back compared to Jarquez Hunter. Now, Hunter played all 4 years. I mean, he was on the field as a freshman, sophomore, and I think Mason.
Yeah, they're going to end up pretty close at the end of the season. They're going to end up being pretty close, but Jarquez will pass them too.
Yeah. So, I mean, that's just pretty amazing, pretty special what Auburn fans got to witness with 27.
Yep. All right, so Darrell and I will drop a show tomorrow morning, normal time, 3:00 in the morning on audio feed, 7 a.m. on YouTube. So come by and hang out. We'll include a little bit of what Hugh Freeze said after the game, as well as kind of nitpick a few things like the clock management thing. I do want to talk about that and a few of the decisions by Peyton. It's just like we shouldn't be doing that at this point of his career. But all in all, incredible stuff. Please like the video. Please subscribe and check out all of our stuff at thebarnauburn.com. Darrell, are you putting up a DAP recap tonight? Or are you?
It'll be tomorrow. It'll be tomorrow. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. So
Some laptop issues. Yeah. It'll be tomorrow.
Cool. Yeah. So be sure to check that out. Thebarnauburn.com. Thebarnauburn.com. Join for the first month is just $1. So go check it out.
That sweatshirt is fire. That sweatshirt is just fire.
Yeah. You sent this to me yesterday and I'm like, instantly new favorite hoodie. No question about it. Like the video. Please subscribe. We'll see you next time. This has been Locked On Auburn.